Alright. I left off breaking down the whole Saturn thing. Basically what I was trying to explain was Saturn it's like the prototype of the solar system. Reverend Phil Valentine one time was saying how before the sun we see in the sky, before we had that sun, Saturn was the sun. So what I factored that in, what I basically came up with was because when you look at Saturn, Saturn is a black planet with rings around it. But the darkness always contains a light. So many words, this was the prototype of the Earth and the Sun with these seven, the rings would be the orbits of the planets around the Earth and the Sun. The black spear of melanin sitting in the center of these rings would be a combination of the Earth and the Sun. This is the dark Earth with the Sun inside or in the core of it. And this is one level of evolution of or devolution, or however you want to call it. This is just one phase of us coming into what we have now. Saturday is a moment in time, so to speak, where they say the gods lived in the core of the earth. The blackness of the planet is melanin. The sun is the light within. That's when we didn't have physical bodies. We were soul beings. And this black melanin mound gave birth to the earth, to the sun, and then things started to rotate around the sun. And then, you know, all the other planets came forth, or whatever, or however it went. You have to look at it like this here. Well, I'll get to that in a minute before you smoking this shit. But yeah, that's why when you look back in Kemet, you have what you call the Shu on her, or the Shushin her. And then when you go to the Hebrew thing, you have what you call the Ben Ha Elohim. Shu represents the wind or the air. That's the whirlwind that the sun travels on. The air that the sun travels on. When the sun is lifted up by a Shu in the morning, or raised up by the wind, and the Earth's rotation in the circular matter is due to that whirlwind. As spiritos, spirit. If you look up spirit in the dictionary, you will see that the root word, or spirit is a derivative of spiro, which is spiral, which means to, you know, spinning a spiral, which is what the planets do. Odd is the darkness of space or the sky. And Hor is the light, or her is the light. Go back to the sun. For the Shu on her is the Shu of the air that transports the light through the on. So the shu transports the her through the on. The air, the breath, raises the kundalini energy, the her, up to the on, which is the pineal gland. So when you go to that's the Kemetic version. When you go to the Hebrew version, the Ben Ha Elohim, the Ben Ha Elohim is the Ben stone, the Ben, which is the pineal gland. The Ha is the air. When you go to Shu, the lion guard, and it's based off of the lion's breath, or the way the lion breathes or pants. He lets out a ha. Excuse me. And the Elohim is the seven chakra centers or whatever. So, as without, so within. This shit all goes back to you, because we all are a solar system. We all are a universe. That's just another example of how later day religions like Hebrewism or Judaism or whatever you want to call it is based off of Kemetic science. Everything was everything in Kemet. It wasn't. We studied everything within relation. Everything was studied within relation to the individual object of study would be studied in relation to the whole. There wasn't no separation. There wasn't no separating science from spirituality like Western man has done. You know, that's why people can't figure nothing out. We don't look at nature and see the spiritual aspect of nature. We look at nature through a scientific lens, and then we look at spirit as something separate. But all this shit is one and goes hand in hand, because shit's, the world you see in front of your eyes comes from the spirit world. So you have to study not the difference, but the similarities between things, so that you can make the connection and understand how everything functions as a whole, as opposed to the separated way of looking at things. But like I was saying in the other video, you know, there's many different ways. Like my breakdown of my original breakdown of how everything came into fruition from the dark waters of space. There's many different ways that it's been explained and broke down. Mine's different than my original one, the one that I originally came up with on my own, based off of study, is different than the one I'm about to give you a brief example of right now. I don't go get too deep into it, so I don't want to get off the subject. Right now we're dealing with the whole devil thing or whatever, and I still got to go back to the finish up on the Apollo thing. I'll probably do it in the next video or the one after, depending on how long it takes me to get through this devil thing. I just want to touch on that devil thing because that's one of the ways that people try to attack the teachings of people like myself, by trying to convince the people that, oh, he's a devil worshiper and he's evil and blah 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 blah. So I'm gonna take you to the evil and show you what that shit really is, so we can karate chop that shit out the door and get down to some real shit, because that's what's fucking up. That's what got everybody fucked up. On both ends, the people that don't understand quote unquote evil, and the people that are quote unquote evil within the context of something bad or heinous mentality or whatever. So did this. Now you have that circle, this right here. This is, imagine this as a two-headed coin. You can't see the back because you're looking at it from the front. Now imagine this part that you're looking at right now as just all blackness. Even the black, but the black dot in the middle is where everything, the darkness is concentrated heavy at. These are the dark waters that was spoke on in the Bible. All that whole thing really would be jet black, but I just kept it like that. I just shaded it a little bit, move in on it to represent the darkness. Now what happened was that middle point is what you would call Tiamat. Soot would be the light. Imagine if you couldn't see, this is the light behind the luminous light behind the dark circle. This is where the light came from. But imagine if you couldn't see that, it'd be hidden. That would be the soot thing. It becomes manifested when it breaks through the other side of that circle, which is the dark mound. You hear about the hill and the mound and a lot of different mythologies or whatever. So what ended up happening was that dark water contained the shu. That's the shu and the on. The darkness or the melanin is the on, and the shu is the whirlwind. The wind it travels in a circular vacuum manner in the dark waters. Now imagine that dark spot in the middle opening up and sucking in all that dark light that light behind it. All that light would travel to the center on the other side of this right here, and it'll be only by that hole being so small, it'll be only so much amount of light that can get through there at one time. So while the leader of the charge, or the pt8, or the head of the charge, is drilling through that hole, it's meeting up with all this dark watery melanin, and it creates like a volcanic ash effect. So you have the ashes that's creating a pillar. It creates a pillar as it comes. That light creates a pillar when it meets up with this dark melanin. You know, the light. I don't want to say fire because it's a high vibration of fire, but it actually begin to descend to a fiery state as it comes in contact with this water that cools the or brings down the vibration of the light. And as it travels up that hole, the ash that it leaves behind would be white. This would create the spine. The dark melanin water will create the neuromelanin. And then you would have another aspect, which would be the lavary, fiery red that will be created as it travels up that hole. Now that corresponds back. I'm showing you how everything came from the dark waters, but then the same process takes place within you, or you are manifestation of this, because the spine, the white spine is your, the white ash will be your spine, or what your spine made of. That red fiery lava would be the blood vessels, and that dark water will be the neuromelanin that runs up the spine. Now, as that light comes through, it does as it's coming through, the light that's left behind, while the light that's trailing behind the light that's leading the charge, which would be the 7 Elohim, or the pt8, and the seven concentrations of light, soul beings or whatnot. The light that's behind it, waiting to get through that hole, will be pressing up on the back of that two-headed coin, creating this. From that, turn it into a mound. And while it's pressing on the back of that circle, it's imprinting the thoughts of everything there is ever, everything that ever was and everything that ever will be. So all that light is ideas and concepts and all that, and it's pressing up on the back. Now as that light in the front travels through that hole, it would the leader of the charge would rise up like this and come out like that. So you have that, and then you would still have light coming seeping from the rim, going out in 4 different directions. So that light that's traveling in 4 different directions, as it travels in those 4 different directions, it's cutting the top off. It's cutting that. The mound is cutting it's cutting it at the base. It's cutting and hammering holes in that melanin as it travels or expands to the rim. And hypothetically speaking, because the light is limitless, but we'll just act like we're dealing with this little bit of light. Let's just say this light right here is what it took to create everything. When all that light comes and finally pours over into the front, it all expands to the rim and settles there as a concentrated ring of light, leaving behind leaving the back side of that, since all the light would be drawn through to the other side. The flip side of this would turn into what the front side once was, to a lesser degree. Really, the back side of that coin will actually turn into the underworld, Pluto, or it'll be frozen. So you have the impression in the back pressing up on the front. You have the impression that's front pushing on the back of this coin, but since there's no more light or heat on the other side, it'll become it'll be ice. It'll be frozen. So the flip side of this coin, where that middle dot is at, for one, the back side would actually be separated from the top, now where all the light is at, due to the creation of the spine, or the wand. The wand is what pushes, separates the front from the back, creating 2 different coins or circles. That's why when you go in Kemet, it tells you about Shu raising up the black mound, or raising the mound up with his wand. That's what the Moses and the wand thing comes from. So now you have that light pillar, coming up like that. And this is another thing you'll hear about Heru cutting open the womb, or cutting open the mother with a 7-axe. And if you look, the 7-axe is the 4. This is a 7, upside down 7, upside down 7, backward 7, or regular 7, backward 7. That's 4 sevens. 4 sevens. 7 times 4 is 28. 28 refers to the 28-day cycles of the moon. That's the Osiris thing too. 2 14s. 2 14s would be masculine and feminine energy. 14 counts of masculine energy, 14 counts of feminine energy. The Isis and Osiris thing, above and below. And you got this pillar in the middle raised up. This is where you hear a lot of stories about God going on a mountain, or going to the top of the mountain. But that pillar is what protrudes at the top of the mountain. When that light is traveling to the border, coming through that hole, this is the light traveling over the dark waters. That's what it speaks of in the Bible, about the God traveling over the face of the deep. Because this dark side of the coin is the abyss. And as it's chopping the top off of this mound, the melanin at the top of the mound is falling into the holes that are being created by this light traveling to the border. And as the light travels to the border, it's also depositing seeds of light within that black water. And then the rings, you see those 7 rings. There's 7 rings within that circle. Those 7 rings are first trenches. They are parts of the they are trenches with 7 trenches within this dark water. So you would have the dark water that's left behind, and then you have the pillar coming out of the middle, and then you have this concentrated ring of light around the rim. That's another thing you'll hear about in chemistry. The rim, the Remy the Weeper. The weeping is when that light starts to travel back towards the center point. That's when you get the whole thing about God casting down Satan and his angels. God would be the middle pillar coming up out of that hole on high. He's above all the light that is concentrated at at the border of this circle. The casting down of the angels is the casting down of the light within them holes that are being hammered and chiseled within that dark space. That's the casting down of the light. That's us. That's what happened to us. We were casted down into the darkness, or casted down into the physical mold, or the mold for the physical world. That's the going to hell thing. Casting the Satan bound, Satan bound to hell or whatever, to get the key and all that there. So when all that light travels to the rim and is concentrated there, leaving behind the dark void, that dark void comes from, like I said, the light is traveling to the border, and it's chiseling out holes, or chiseling out the mold, chiseling a hole on top of the mold that was made by the light pushing on the back of this coin on its way to this side of the coin that we're doing right now. So when it chops off the top, the top, all that melanin from the top is falling in them holes, and at the same time, while the light is depositing well, the melanin is falling within them holes, and then when the light starts to travel back towards the center, that's when it starts to deposit. That's when it starts to deposit the light within those holes. So it's burying the light in these molds that are cut out, and then the melanin that's falling from the top of that mound is burying. It's like putting the dirt back over, or putting the melanin back over the light that's put in them holes, and everything travels back to the center. Now, when everything travels back to the center, it makes its way back down to where it came from. Remember, the other side of that pole that's created, which would be like this, the other side now is the ice world, because it's void of light and heat. When that light travels through that tunnel between the two circles, coming out of the other side over here, on the other side, it'll have to go through an ice cap. So the same way you had that dark mound of melanin mound right there, that watery melanin mound, the other side now has become an ice cap. When that light comes in contact with that ice cap, it blows the cap off, because once that heat, that high temperature of heat coming in contact with that ice will cause it to explode. Just like when you take if you was to take a glass and sit it in the freezer for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden you abruptly expose it to something hot, it'll crack. Same thing. And that ice world sitting at the bottom, that goes back to mythology when you hear about Pluto kidnapping Persephone, and Demeter having to go and Demeter having to go and recover her from Pluto by teaching the people how to harvest corn. The harvesting of the corn just means learning how to illuminate the light. The corn corresponds to the pineal gland. So it's basically saying you save Persephone from the Ice Queen by learning how to illuminate the pineal gland. But in this breakdown here, I'm just dealing with the formation of the solar system and all that shit. So, but the thing about that, they said that the Earth, Elijah Muhammad said that, or in the wisdom lessons, it speaks on how the moon was blown from the Earth. Now, all this is what I'm showing you is the creation of the Earth and the sun and all that in one. So when that ice cap is blown off of that center hole for the light to start to travel back through the other side, that's what becomes the moon. That ice cap blows from the center and goes out to the outside of everything. It becomes the what will become the moon that orbits the Earth. Now, when all that light does a reverse process from what it did up here and goes back to where it came from in this circle, it's coming in contact with ice. So the heat, basically the same process that happened right here, the pole coming in the middle and the light expanding to the border, happens right here. And but while that's happening, all that ice is turning into water. So you have this water world, so to speak, being created by the light coming back into this ice world. And then this becomes, it's light left. This doesn't become cold like that did because it's still light left up here from that light that was deposited and buried up here in the melanin. So it's still kind of warm. It's not as hot as it was once the light was all concentrated in that area, but it still has light left behind. So what you will have now is, this would be like the top layer of the earth, dirt or melanin, with the light deposited within it or buried within it, the same way dirt has Osiris or vitality up in it due to the transference of energy from the sun to the earth and whatnot. And just like the earth has, just like the waters of the earth sit beneath the earth, you have this sitting beneath the earth. So you have the water beneath the earth, and then the earth, the muddy earth sitting on the top. Now, the flood comes in when all that water, when all that light turns the ice world into water. The water comes back through here, and this is where it comes back through here, which would be coming through the top of that. And this is where you get the deluge, the flood. All these flood stories you hear about the Bible is about this. The flood comes through that and creates the to water the spiritual seeds within that's buried in this mound right here. Same process with growing plants and all that. Everything is everything. But that's just in a nutshell. You know, I'm gonna do another breakdown on this while I go more into detail, because it's a lot more detail that go to this. But that 7 acts thing is key. Because I used to always hear Bobby Hemming speak on how Horus cut open the stomach of the mother with the 7 acts. That's what that metaphor symbolizes. The cutting and chiseling of the melanin by the light expanding through this dark mound, this dark watery mound. So you have the darkness. This would be all black in the beginning, which is the on. The whirlwind, or the wind up here, would be the Shu. This would be the Horus, or the Her, the light. Those 7 rings would be the rings of Saturn, and this would be the center of the dark sphere you see in Saturn with the light within it. And then everything else went to evolution state or whatever, and everything, you know, all those molds and stuff that I was telling you about that was being put or pressed up on and created within that process, those are the stars, the planets, and all that. Even when it says God judged amongst God stands in the congregation and judges among the mighty. One of the things that represents is that pole, which would be God, raising up and saying that ye are gods but would die like men. The dying like men, he's telling that to the zodiac. This becomes the zodiac, the zodiac, that concentrated light I was telling you about eventually becomes the zodiac and the stars or whatever. So when he says you would die, ye are gods but would die like men, he's saying that ye are gods, ye are light, but you will be buried in that melanin to actually become man, or these physical beings that we are, which happens later on down in the evolution of this right here, because this is just a nutshell thing I'm giving y'all. I don't want to get too far off the devil, but that's what the Saturn thing is. You know what I'm saying? That's why 666 is the number of man. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, whatever. Which creates melanin. The carbonic ash. That's the ash created by the light and dark melanin mingling. This is where you get the mingling of the waters from. The waters of the light separated from the light, the waters of the dark. All that comes from what I'm breaking down right now. The mingling of the waters is when the light deposits within the dark watery melanin as the seeds. You know, I just wanted to give y'all that. And like I said, this is the soot thing. Imagine if this wasn't all this light, you couldn't see this, and it was just this dark mound with this constant, with all this is black, but then this is a dark hole right there. That's the soot. You will see in Kemet, the oldest representation of God was the hippopotamus in the sun, which is soot, or Anubis, the dog, or the that's the hippopotamus. You see, that looks similar to a hippopotamus stomach right there. The hippopotamus was used to represent the dark mound, and Anubis, the dog, was the light hidden within, or on the other side of this mound. So soot was the original light, but he was the light that was hidden, or the child that was hidden within the womb of the mother. Like when you see a pregnant woman, she's pregnant. You can't see the baby, but you know that the baby's in there due to the protrusion of the belly. So that's just one little aspect I wanted to give y'all and break down to y'all real quick within this breakdown of the devil. But that even when you read about ancient Kemetic science, it talks about the shoe raising up the mound with his wand. That's the whole Moses thing. You know what I'm saying? The mingling of the air and the water. One of the things they say, in ancient Egypt, light of the world, it speaks on how Moses possibly came from the word mu shade, mu being water, shade being air. Moses was, another definition for Moses is to be drawn out of water. So when you're dealing with Moses, you're not dealing with a person. You're dealing with a concept, a man in a story who's representative of many different processes or process. Even when he goes and helps it's one part in the Bible where he helps the 7 virgins or 7 ladies he helps them. They were trying to get water or something, and they were being antagonized by some guys or something. And Moses comes and runs the guys off and helps them get their water. So when the 7 sisters go back home to their father, who was the high priest, he was like, "Well, how y'all get back so fast?" They was like, "Well, we had this guy helping us get water. He ran off the dudes, whatever, and he helped us get this water." So the high priest was like, "Well, why didn't you invite him here since he helped you, whatever?" So they went back and got Moses and brought him to the high priest, and the high priest gave him his eldest daughter. The 7 sisters represent the 7 chakras. The water represents the raising up by the air, the raising up of the Kundalini energy, which mingles with because the melanin or the chakras are nothing more than melanin clusters, which represent what I was just showing y'all. 7 different, because even that process I just showed y'all, those things start to unfold and create other circles. That's why I said it's a little bit more involved than what I just showed you, but that's like one aspect of it. But those 7 chakras, those 7 circles, those 7 wheels, the wheels of Elijah, Ezekiel, the wheels of Ezekiel, all those are the 7 spinning wheels, or the 7 spinning vortexes that run up your spine. That'll be the dark waters or the dark mountains that the light raises up through and vitalizes as it makes its way to the eldest or the highest chakra, which is the eldest daughter. So the marriage of the eldest daughter and Horus symbolizes, because marriage is nothing but symbolism. You have the woman. She's coming up she's representing the Kundalini energy coming up well, I take it back. You have it's funny because when you look at it the way we do it, you have the woman coming up the aisle. She's coming up the aisle to meet the man. It's supposed to be the other way around, because the man is supposed to represent the masculine energy, which would be the sperm. The aisle would be the birth canal. The man, if it was done properly, the man coming down the aisle would be the sperm coming down the birth canal, or the gateway or whatever, to meet with the feminine principle, which would be the egg, so they can combine and fuse to create the oneness, which in pregnancy would be the new child, the combination of the masculine energy and the feminine energy bringing forth the new child. But when you look at it on another aspect, we both have masculine and feminine qualities. So the woman coming down the aisle, even though on one hand it seems as if it's backwards, which is the same thing I said when I first saw it. But she wears the white. Her dress is a train that trails behind her and has to be held up by I think they call bridesmaids or something like that. Yeah. Well, if you look at the way that dress looks, basically that symbolizes the sperm. So the woman carrying, because the woman, so on one hand, if you look at it, because the church itself, church is first and foremost, the word church comes from the word Kirk, and Kirk is Captain Kirk. You know what I'm saying? The Heru. Kirk means circle, the rim. That's another name for Heru, the Falcon, the Kirko. Shout out to Kurt Cobain. The Kirkos. It symbolizes the circle. You know what I'm saying? The circle. Now, on one hand, to look at it in a negative aspect, that's what the goddamn church does to people. Has you going in circles. Your main goal is the circle, and all that shit is one aspect of life. But ultimately, you want to come outside of the circles of time, because the circles of time is what trap you. That's why when that Harvey thing went on, happened, I took us out I took us out of the circles of time down here in H-Town. I think it was Sky from Magic 102 or 979. I think it was 102 Sky. I think she said, man, she was like, man, we don't, she's like, we just don't know what time it is out here. You know, because everybody was so caught up and trying to, you know, lights was off and shit, and people were scrambling and everything was going on. So it's like people really stopped paying attention to time. I felt it too. She was like, and I'm gonna break down that Harvey shit too. You know what I'm saying? Cause that was something based off of the quote unquote ills or evils of the world bringing forth this storm. These storms and shit do be spiritual signs that niggas need to get it right. But I ain't gonna go too far into that right now because it all revolves around me. And no, it's not a thing where I called on the fucking storm to kill niggas and all this old dumb shit motherfucker be trying to make up. But it has an aspect to it, because it goes back to what I was saying. You can't fuck with certain people you antagonize on this planet who possess power. The ancestors see this shit. They see their messengers going through antagonism or dealing with antagonism, and they do fight back once they look and see, oh, he's overwhelmed. They're hitting him from every angle. Okay, well let's move in and do some things real quick. That's a level. That's a level. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. You know what I'm saying? But and I got the black and white on it right here. I get into it. Prophecy. I got a spiritual channel that it was some of my people that was coming through, and actually I saw, before the storm popped off, I saw a green orb float through the sky, and that was the SAM that occurred that Monday before the storm popped off. The SAM, the sun and moon eclipse, the Sambo, the Har Sam Tawi. So when I tell you I am, nigga, you can take that to the bank. But yeah, anyway, the church thing. The church itself, you can look at the church, well, the church itself, that's why they say that the church is the woman, and the actual knowledge that you're supposed to get from a spiritual, from any type of spiritual gathering, not, you know, because, and it ain't, and some of these preachers and shit, they know the other side of the game, but they're just keeping it from people. And some just, you know, they don't understand. They naively just go out and they just do what they, you know, because this is all a system. They can't do what they want to do. That's why this shit is tax free. It's under the 5-3 some shit. But they gotta teach, you know, they start teaching something that goes against what the government wants them to teach. Then they get shut down and shit, possibly fucked up. So but you so some that's just, you know, that's doing a thing, but then you got some that are Masons and they know the truth. They know that they hiding the real shit from you. So I don't want, you know, cause I smash on preachers and shit, but I don't want people to think that I don't understand that it ain't all of them that know. The ones that know should be held accountable. The ones that's just doing their thing and they feel like they doing the right thing and they just straight up Christians, you know, that's another thing. You know, you can't really hold them too much accountable because they think that they're doing the right thing, and in some ways they are, because everybody needs what they need. You're a Christian, and the people that don't understand what I'm speaking right now and turn it back to this and don't get it, maybe they're not supposed to right now, but you have to deal with the consequences of not knowing. So you know, that's why I'm not the guy that feels like just because you don't subscribe to what I say, I automatically have to view you as an enemy, or I have to view you as that don't mean we can't be friends. We might not spend too much time around each other because we live in two different realities. I live in the realms, within the realms of reality. That's what God does. So if you think if your whole spiritual orientation towards the world is different, that's not to say that we can't hang out and be cool and kick it. But my whole way of viewing life is through a totally different lens. So, on the flip side, you take somebody who on the same level that I'm on, I can be like, yeah, man, I was talking to James Brown last night, man. That nigga hit me with some science, bro. He showed me some shit. Blah, blah, blah. You be like, yeah, shit, that nigga came through to me the other day too. Woo, woo. And it'll be a normal conversation. Now, if you're on the other side and all this shit that I'm talking to you is something foreign, I can't talk to you like that. And I'm more geared towards spiritual. I talk regular shit too and kick it and eat popcorn and go to the movies, go to the club, do all that shit too. But I am mostly invested and it ain't even about having to just sit down and bring out books and so. No, this shit is so real, it's natural. It's like, so even in the midst of me talking about some quote unquote mundane or regular shit, some spiritual shit that come out of it. And that's where the line kind of draws between me and humans, because humans can't take that. Some can tolerate it for a minute, but then after a while they be like, man, this nigga always talking this spiritual shit and that shit crazy, that old crazy shit. And that's where a lot of my relationships with people that from my past that I was once cool with or whatever, or family and all that shit, that's what kind of separates us. And maybe that's a good thing, because maybe everybody should be to their own. And my thing is like, you know, with all this knowledge and shit, it's like you either striving to try to get it, you already got it, or you don't want to get it. If you don't want to get it, then that's cool too. That ain't my problem. But you have to deal with the consequences of that, whatever they may be. And I'm not saying like, oh, but that goes back to the Bible when Jesus speaks on how there'll be some that receive, some that receiveth not. The ones that receiveth not cannot be of God. You know what I'm saying? You got gods and humans. Gods are the ones that, like I say, you might not get what I'm saying right now, but your sincerity is your credentials. So just because you don't get it don't mean you're not God. If you gravitate more towards this information and trying to get it to whatever degree, then you are of God. That's why it says, let me see how much time I got right quick. Need to give me I'm almost out of there. I have to get back to that one in a minute. But yeah, that's what separates the chumps from the monks. So and this shit is, you cannot fake this shit here. Trust me. Ain't no faking this shit. This ain't no gang banging type shit where niggas say this. Nah, niggas who know. So you can skate, you know, within the context of knowledge and all that shit for a minute, but eventually you'll say some shit that'll make a nigga say, buddy. And that's when we'll figure out if you're a real scholar or not. Because once somebody say, hey man, look, you got this right, but you got that wrong, and let me show you something, blah, 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 blah. Your reaction to that will, because a real studious person is going to be like, well, if I'm wrong, let me know. Because I want to be right as possible. Because it's damn to know right or wrong with this shit. It is, but it's not. That's the the contradiction in life. So, I get back with y'all, man. I have to upload this shit, get some more time, space on my camera, but y'all niggas be breezy till then, you know what I'm saying? Peace.